Hey there. So estate planning is on your mind, huh? Especially with these big estate tax exemption changes coming up in 2026. Smart thinking.
Yeah, it's something to really watch out for, especially if you've built up a pretty substantial estate. Because right now in 2024, the exemption is pretty generous. But come 2026, watch out, it's going to shrink faster than
Yeah, like a
okay.
sweater and a hot dryer.
Exactly. And you've been doing your research, I see. You sent over that article from Aaron Skloff, How the Estate Tax Exemption Can Be a Tax Stream Part 3. It's part of a whole series he's been writing on estate planning.
Yeah, he's got some pretty interesting ideas in there. Especially when it comes to using life insurance, as a way to possibly save some money on those estate taxes.
Life insurance. That's not the first thing that comes to mind when I think about estate planning, I have to admit.
I get it. Most people think of life insurance as a way to protect their family, if something were to happen to them. But it can actually be a really powerful tool to help reduce your estate tax burden, too. Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. But what's the catch? Why isn't everyone using life insurance like this then?
Well, the thing is, life insurance proceeds, so that money that your loved ones get when you pass away, that usually gets included as part of your taxable estate.
Oh,
So a big life insurance payout could actually increase the taxes your estate owes.
oh, that makes sense. So how do we kind of flip that script then and make life insurance work for us in estate planning?
Well, Skloff suggests using something called an irrevocable life insurance trust, or ILIT for short.
An eyelid. That sounds a little complicated.
It's really not as bad as it sounds. Think of it like this. You have this big vault, right? That's your estate. And inside, you've got all your valuable stuff, your assets, your investments, maybe some family heirlooms. But then there's this separate, super secure safe deposit box that sits outside that vault. That's your islet.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get the picture. So how do we use this eyelid safe deposit box
Yeah.
to shield things from those estate taxes?
You put your life insurance policy in it. By setting up an ILAT and moving that policy into it, you're essentially saying that the trust owns the policy, not you.
Okay.
And because it's not part of your personal estate anymore, that death benefit, the money that gets paid out when you pass, that goes directly to the people you choose. It completely bypasses your estate and all those hefty estate taxes.
So it's like a secret escape route for that money. It just avoids the tax man completely.
You got it. And Skloff actually lays out some really compelling examples in his article. They really highlight the potential benefits of using an islet. He focuses on two scenarios: a single person and then a married couple.
Okay, let's hear about those examples. I always love a good story.
Okay, so picture this. You've got a single person with $14 million in assets. It's 2026, that estate tax exemption has shrunk way down, and they haven't done any estate planning.
This is not sounding good.
Not good at all. Slav estimates that their estate would end up paying over $4 million in taxes, meaning their heirs would only receive about $12.92 million of that original $14 million.
Wow, that's a huge chunk of their hard-earned money going straight to the IRS. What about the married couple in this second example?
Well, they've got double the assets, $28 million. And without any planning, their potential estate tax bill would be double too, over $8 million. They would only be leaving about $25.84 million for their loved ones.
Okay, so bigger estate, bigger potential tax hit makes sense, but still a scary thought. I'm guessing Skloff has a solution for us, though. He wouldn't leave us hanging right.
Of course not. That's where the islet comes in. And a little bit of smart planning.
All right, I'm all ears. Tell me how an eyelet can save the day for these folks.
Well, in Skloff's examples, both the single person and the married couple, they use an islet as part of their estate plan. And the results? Pretty impressive. Remember how the single person was looking at a potential $4 million tax bill?
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Well, with an aisle and some other smart moves, Skloff figures they could potentially slash that tax bill down to just $240,000.
Hold on, from over 4 million down to 240,000? That's like nothing.
Right. And their beneficiaries, they'd end up with a lot more, over $16.76 million.
That's almost $4 million more than they would have gotten without any estate planning. That's life-changing money.
It really is. And for the married couple, the results are even more dramatic. Remember, they were facing a potential tax bill of over $8 million.
Double trouble.
Well, and by using an ILIT and doing some strategic planning, they could potentially wipe out almost all of that, bringing their estate tax burden down to just $480,000.
Wow. So they're basically leaving almost the entire 28 million to their heirs.
Actually, even better, Skloff projects they'd be leaving behind over $33.5 million, because you see that money in the ILIT, that grows over time. and it's not subject to estate taxes.
Okay, so we're talking about potentially saving millions in taxes and leaving behind an even bigger legacy.
Mhm.
Where do I sign up? But how does it actually work? Like, what are the steps someone would actually need to take?
So in his example with the single person, Skloff suggests like a 3-year plan. It all starts in 2024 by taking advantage of these current gifting rules. He recommends making a gift of $200,000. And the cool thing is, this gift wouldn't even touch their lifetime exemption.
So they're strategically moving some assets out of their estate while that exemption is still high. Clever.
Exactly. Then in 2025, they'd make another $200,000 gift. Again, without impacting their lifetime exemption. But here's where it gets interesting. Skloff also suggests gifting a whopping $13 million that same year.
Whoa, 13 million. Wouldn't that eat into their lifetime exemption?
It would, but remember the exemption is still pretty generous in 2025. So by making this big gift before it drops, they're shielding a huge chunk of their assets from those future estate taxes.
So it's all about timing, making these strategic moves while you still can.
You got it. And along with these gifts, they would set up an ILITE and fund it with a life insurance policy. Skloff uses a $3 million death benefit in his example. So when they pass away in 2026, that $3 million goes straight to their beneficiaries, completely tax-free thanks to the ILITE.
Okay, so it's a multi-pronged attack. Gifting to reduce the taxable estate, and then using the ILITE to keep that life insurance payout away from the tax man.
Exactly. And for the married couple, Skloff uses a similar approach. They'd start with $400,000 in gifts in 2024 and another $400,000 in 2025. Then they'd make a substantial $26 million gift in 2025, really maximizing that higher exemption.
And I'm assuming they'd set up an ILITE too.
Absolutely. With a life insurance policy and a $6 million death benefit. And remember that estimated exemption in 2026 is around $6.8 million per person.
So they're using up most of their combined exemption before it shrinks. And that $6 million from the life insurance just sails right past those estate taxes. It's like they're doing this perfectly choreographed dance to avoid all those taxes.
Exactly. It all comes down to proactive planning and strategic execution.
This is all fascinating stuff, but I gotta admit, it's also a little overwhelming. There's a lot of moving parts and numbers to juggle. I'm starting to see why Skloff really emphasizes working with a professional.
Absolutely. Estate planning can get very complicated. And trying to do it yourself could lead to some costly mistakes. A qualified financial advisor can help you sort through it all and make sure your plan really aligns with your situation and your goals.
So we've talked about the shrinking estate tax exemption and how ILENTs can potentially save millions in taxes. But are there any downsides to using an ILET? It can't all be sunshine and rainbows, right?
You're right to be cautious. While ILETs can be really powerful tools, they do have some complexities and some potential drawbacks. For example, setting one up and managing it properly. That requires, careful legal and financial guidance. It's not really a do-it-yourself project.
So it's not like a set it and forget it thing.
Not really. There is some ongoing management involved. And you have to remember, once those assets are in the trust, you're giving up control of them. You can't just easily access them or change things up. That's why it's really important to understand the implications before you make any decisions.
That makes sense. What about those large gifts Skloff mentions? Are there any tax implications we should be thinking about there?
Yeah, there could be. While Skloff focuses on using the lifetime gift tax exemption, there are other things to consider. For example, if the value of those gifted assets goes up a lot after the gift is made, those gains could actually be subject to capital gains tax for the recipient.
Oh, so it's not just about the gift itself, but also about what happens to those assets later on.
Exactly, and that's just one example. Gift tax laws can be pretty nuanced, so it's really important to talk to a tax professional so you can understand the implications before making any big gifts.
So it sounds like Skloff's article is a really good starting point. But working with a team of experts, a financial advisor, an estate planning attorney, and maybe even a tax professional, is really crucial to create a personalized estate plan. One that considers all the angles.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, Skloff's article has given us a ton to think about. We've covered these upcoming estate tax changes, explored the potential benefits of an ILITE, and highlighted how important it is to get professional guidance. What stands out to you the most from his approach?
I think what I really like about Skloff's approach is that he makes this whole complex topic easy to understand. He breaks it down into steps you can actually take. He doesn't just say, oh, hey, there's a problem. He actually lays out solutions and even gives you a timeline for making it happen.
Right, and he uses those examples, those real-world examples, to really show how smart estate planning can potentially save you millions in taxes. You see those dollar amounts, it makes it real. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one thing to understand the concept of estate planning. But when you actually see how much money could be saved, it makes you want to take action.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, Skloff really focuses on life insurance and ILATs. And what's really interesting to me is that his article opens up this bigger conversation about estate planning as a whole.
Right, life insurance is a piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
but there's a lot more to it.
Exactly. You want a plan that looks at your whole financial picture, your family, your goals if you want to give to charity, everything.
Uh,
And that's why you really need a good estate planning attorney on your team. They can handle all those legal details, make sure all your documents are in order, and that your wishes are crystal clear.
So you're building a whole team of experts, a financial advisor to figure out the money stuff, an attorney to handle the legal side, and maybe even a tax person to deal with the tax stuff.
Exactly. It's like your estate planning dream team. They help you build a fortress around your legacy and protect it from every angle.
I like that. And like you said earlier, it's important to start building that fortress early on. Don't wait till the last minute, especially with those changes coming in 2026.
I agree. Being proactive gives you time to look at all your options, weigh the pros and cons, and really fine-tune your strategy.
So if we had to boil all of this down to one key takeaway for our listeners, what would it be?
I think it's this. These upcoming changes to the estate tax exemption. They're a challenge for sure, but they're also an opportunity. By being proactive and getting expert advice, you can turn those challenges into wins and create an estate plan that protects your legacy and takes care of your loved ones.
Well said. And estate planning isn't a one-time thing, right? It's a journey. As your life changes, you get married, have kids, start a business, your estate plan needs to change too.
Absolutely. It's important to check in and update it regularly so it reflects your goals and what's going on in your life.
Well, Skeplik has given us a lot to think about. He's shown us how life insurance can be used in estate planning, introduced us to the ILI, and really hammered home that we need a team of experts to help us with all this.
And he started this great conversation about holistic estate planning, looking at all the tools and strategies to protect your legacy and provide for your loved ones.
Yeah, he's definitely got me thinking about my own estate plan. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one last question to think about. Scaleflow focused on life insurance. But what other estate planning strategies are out there? Especially with these 2026 changes on the horizon. Things like giving to charity, different types of trusts, maybe even planning for your family business. There are so many options out there, so keep researching, keep learning, and keep building that fortress around your legacy. Until next time, happy planning.